All right, welcome everyone to the Elite Training. There's the Elite Training with Sieun Kim. Today I have a special request from one of our agents, and she asked me to help me learn about the presentation for annuities. So if you come across a client who is a potential annuity client, and if you were to present the annuity, how to go about that. So today I wanted to talk about what are some of the things that you should highlight when you're talking to your clients and presenting the options for annuities, and what are some of the things that you should not talk about, because annuity is an advanced market product, meaning there's a lot more complexity when it comes to making sure that the client's annuity suitability is there, and making sure we are setting it up properly. So it's definitely a step up from selling like a term insurance. Okay. So first thing first, when it comes to the annuities, we want to focus on three things. One, we have market downside protection on all of our annuities. So that means we have a 0% floor on all of our fixed index annuities. So if the market crashes and it goes down 30%, 40%, and clients who have their money in the general stock market, they can lose their money, 30, 40% of their assets. But when they put their money into our annuity, they have a market downside protection and a 0% floor, meaning that no matter what happens to the market, client will not lose money in their annuity due to the market declines. So that's a big thing to highlight. Why? Because especially seniors, they don't have as much time to maybe recoup the money back from the loss, right? Let's just say we're talking about a client who's like 65, 67 years old, who's really close to the retirement age. And let's just say hypothetically they had $500,000 in a 401k. Now, if the client loses 40% of that 500,000, that's $200,000 gone. So now the client was ready to retire with 500,000, thinking like, you know what? I can pull out $3,000 to $4,000 a month for the rest of my life, and I can live off of my 401k. But now client lost 40%, and that $500,000 went down to $300,000 over like a 1 year period of time. Then now what? Client is 65, 67, and they cannot retire because the income based on a 300,000 is not going to generate enough money for them to able to pay their mortgage once they retire. Their lifestyle, it's just not possible. So those clients are afraid of losing their money. As they get closer to the retirement age, they want to become a little more conservative. Okay. So if you have a client who worked for 10, 20, 30 years for a employer, and they had a 401k, and they might have experienced back in the days like the 2007, 2008 market crash where they lost a bunch of money. So if they have that fear from the past, they don't want that to repeat again. And right now they said there's a lot of bubbles in the stock market. So if that bubble pops, and clients lose 10, 20, 30%, depends on how the market crashes, then now they might have to work an extra 5 years, 7 years trying to recoup that loss. Does that make sense? So talking about the 0% floor, that's gonna be super attractive to the client. So I highlight that. Okay. And number two, because this is a fixed index annuity, the client's money is not being invested directly in the stock market. So what does that mean? If the client money is actually in the stock market, then when the market goes down, client loses money. But because we are using fixed index annuities, uh, index options, the client's money goes into a separate account within the insurance like company like Fidelity and Guarantee or Athene, and client's money is in a separate account that mirrors the stock market. Okay. So if the stock market does well, the client gains money. If the stock market goes down, like we talked about, it has that 0% floor, so client doesn't lose money. Because of that principle of the fixed index annuity, our clients can participate in also a high return if the market does well, but also protect their money when the market goes down. So that's kind of like the foundation of the fixed index annuity. And it's the biggest selling point when it comes to why is our plan going to be better than what they're currently doing? Okay. And number two, when the client retires, and let's just hypothetically, client is ready to retire, and client has money in a 401k or an IRA, Roth IRA, any type of retirement account. And when they retire, now that money has to go somewhere now. They can, when they retire, they can roll it over into something. They can roll it over into a money market. They can roll it over into let's just say, maybe like a fixed index annuity. They can roll it into different types of products. So when it comes to time to roll it over, we have an advantage of also giving the client a tax deferred rollover. So if the client's 401k was tax deferred and they haven't paid taxes yet, it's been deferred over time. If the client rolls it over into our annuity and do like a qualified rollover, then client will not have to pay any taxes on that money. And we can roll it over and remain in the same tax deferred status and let it keep growing tax deferred until client wants to withdraw money as an income. So client will only pay taxes as an income tax based on their tax bracket during that year. So let's just give you an example. Client has a $500,000 401k. They decided to roll that over into an annuity with us. And that $500,000, client wants to start withdrawing income. And let's say client took out $50,000 out of the $500,000 client has. Then that $50,000 is going to be added to the client's social security or any other income. And whatever that total amount of income was, that tax bracket, let's say that was 22% or 15%, whatever that is, that's what the client will owe in taxes. The client does not have to pay like a capital gains tax on the money that has grown inside of their 401k previously, or even after the rollover inside of their annuity. So they get only taxed as an income based on their income bracket at the time of withdrawal. Okay. Only time that you will have to be forced to take out money from it is when they reach the required minimum distribution age. And I think it's going up again. So it used to be like 70, 72. I think it's going to 73. And it's probably going to keep moving on because people are living longer than ever now. But once you reach that age, client has to take out a percentage of their retirement account or they get penalized. And Uncle Sam will say, hey, you had their money in there for 30, 40 years. Like it's time to withdraw some money. And when they withdraw the money and they're forced to withdraw the money, then the client pays the tax based on the withdrawal amount. But it's not a lot. It's not a big percentage. So client is not having to pay, take out 10%, 20%. It's a small percentage. And if you just take out that money out, then you're not going to be penalized. Okay. So that's kind of the another benefit of the feature of this plan is that you can roll over their current retirement plan and they don't have to pay any taxes. We can still remain in the same tax deferred status. Okay, on that.
What's the
Now
name of the
let's
plan?
this one. So this is just a fixed index annuity. So I'm just talking about just a general product, overall products. But the best and most popular product that we've been using is Fidelity and Guarantee Power Accumulator 10. that has zero fees, no fees whatsoever. Also, there is quite a lot of focus on the growth of their retirement. So there's no fees. It's more focused on geared towards growth. That's a great one. There's no fees involved. Clients really like that. So that's the Power Accumulator 10. And the other product, it's called the F&G Accelerator Plus 10. So Accelerator Plus 10, that one is geared towards guaranteed lifetime income. It comes with a specific rider called guaranteed lifetime income rider. So once the client turns on that income, the insurance company guarantees to pay that out to the family, even if the client lives up to 110 years old. So as long as the client is alive, then they will pay out the income. So as an example, Raquel, you're talking to a client, maybe like a Medicare client, and client is like, I'm just afraid that I'm going to outlive my money. That's pretty common for seniors. They just don't want to outlive their money and run out of money. So for those clients, then the Accelerator Plus 10 will be better because they have that guaranteed lifetime income rider, so they can never outlive that money. And also the other part to that annuity, though, is it does have a fee. It's a 0.95% fee, which is 1% or less. That is the fee that you have to pay on an annual basis, whether the annuity does well or not. So that's just a straight fee. But that product also comes with some additional features. It comes with a bonus up to, I believe, 10%, 11% you can get. So you can get a bonus to the client up front, which kind of makes up for that fee that the client is paying for about a 1% a year. So since you're getting 8% plus interest, not interest, a bonus up front, so that can kind of make up for the fees of 1% a year. And then on top of that, client will also have something called an impairment multiplier benefit. So if a client is going to be in a long-term care situation where they can't do 2 out of 6 activities of daily living, then the company like F&G will pay double the guaranteed income. So let's just say we set up a client $200,000 annuity and client got into a long-term care situation and they can't do 2 out of 6 activities of daily living, then we will be able to double their income. So let's just say the monthly income was going to be around $2,000 a month for the rest of her life before the long-term care situation. That $2,000 will pay out for the rest of her life. But let's just say she got Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, and now she needs help to do her daily activities. Then that $2,000 a month income will double to $4,000 a month income for the rest of the client's life. So if you have a client that wants that guaranteed income for the rest of her life and that bonus up front and that long-term care benefit, then the Accelerator Plus 10 is great. If a client has just wants to roll over the money, but wants the lowest cost to do it, no fees, and just want to focus on the growth, then the Power Accumulator 10 is the best product out there right now. Okay? And let's just go ahead and answer some of those questions real quick. Um, Cami says, is a separate license required to do annuities? I seem to recall that. No, actually, there's not a license you have to get for the annuities. It's actually just your life insurance license that you can write the fixed index annuity. We don't offer variable annuities. Variable annuities are the ones that you need to get your series license, your securities license, and become a financial advisor to offer that. But variable annuity, like the name says, it's variable. So client can lose the money like in the stock market. So their money is being directly invested into the stock market. Whereas the annuities that we sell that has a fixed index annuity and the 0% floor, you do not need a special license to do that. Your license is good enough, but state has some requirements, such as taking a 4 hour, 8 hour annuity course for you to be able to offer that in your state. But that doesn't take as long as getting a whole nother license. So you should be able to get it done in 2 to 3 days. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and let me just go ahead and share my screen. Let's go to F&G. Okay, all right. So I wanted to show you an illustration today, get one done, and how to present it to the client. So today I'm gonna do the simpler more simple one called the Power Accumulator 10. It doesn't have as much bells and whistles, but it's a really good no cost uh, annuity that is focused on growth. So we're gonna just put Jane Smith, and let's just do a hypothetical of a client who is maybe 55 years old. Let's make it male, 55. Next. Let's go ahead and take a look at Nevada, Jane Smith. And plan type is fixed index annuity. That's the product that we were talking about. Product is Power Accumulator 10. And you click Create Illustrations. And here it says initial premium of $100,000. We're going to make this $200,000. So that's the amount that is being rolled over. And it says annuity type, right? What is the difference between a non-qualified and qualified? So I don't want to go into too much detail because that's going to
Yeah.
take a while. But the non-qualified annuity means that it's not in a government qualified retirement account, such as a 401k, IRA, 403b, 457, things like that. That means it's a government approved tax deferred retirement accounts. Okay. That's what the qualified means. Okay. The non-qualified means that the money is in a savings account or checking account or maybe money under the mattress, so the money that they already have paid taxes. So non-qualified means already tax money. Qualified means that the client has not paid taxes and it's tax deferred in like a 401k or an IRA. Okay. So if the client says, hey, I have $50,000 in my checking account and I want to put it into an annuity, that'll be non-qualified. If a client says the money is in a 401k or a 403b, then it will be a qualified plan. Okay, so just letting you know. And allocations, when you go to the allocations, this is the different investment options inside of the annuity. Okay. So starting from a fixed interest credit, meaning that the client gets a flat rate of 3.7, 4.0, depending on what the fixed interest rate is for that year, that's what the client will get. So clients who are really conservative, you can put 100% on that and just let the client get a fixed interest rate. Okay. Balance Asset 10 Index, Balance Asset 5, BlackRock, iShare, uh, S&P 500, Gold Trust, US Real Estate, Morgan Stanley. There's a variety of index options. To me, I like to diversify a little bit because you just never know what the market is going to do. And sometimes balanced asset might do better. Sometimes S&P does better. But I want to kind of spread it out so the client has a more of a balanced allocation for their portfolio. What I typically do is minimum, I get two different indexes and do a 50-50 split. Or now the market has been really like up and down, and I feel like it's gonna at some point in the next few years, it's gonna correct itself. So maybe we can make it a little more diversified. As a good one, balance asset five, there is, as you can see, 1 year and there's 2 year. You see. And then there is a 1 year regular with participation and 1 year with charge. Charge means client can pay an extra fee every year to get a bigger return, bigger multiplier. So instead of getting 5% because of this 1% of fee the client pays, maybe they get 8% return or 10% return or double the return. So that's for clients who want to be a little more aggressive in the safety net of the fixed index annuity. They can pay like a 1%, 1.25% fee, but if the market did well, there's a chance the client can get an extra 5, 10% return. So even after paying that 1.25% fee, client is ahead 3, 4, 5% gain. Okay. 2 year versus 1 year. What does that mean? 1 year point to point means that the client gets an interest credited into their account every year on their anniversary. So if the client got an annuity today in August 7th, 2025, and we put 100% of allocation into this 1 year, that means August 7th of 2026, next year, we'll be able to calculate how much client got in return for that year, okay, for that 1 year anniversary. If you do the 2 year, that means client doesn't get an interest every year on their anniversary. Client gets an interest every 2 year anniversary. So they will not get an interest return on their account until August 7th of 2027. Then you're going to be wondering, why would a client decide to not get an interest rate next year and wait until to get it on 2027, 2 years from now? Because if you opt in for the 2 year, because you wait 2 years to get the interest rate, the fidelity and guarantee will give you a bigger multiplier for you doing that. So if a client is wanting to leave the money in there for a good 10 years, I'm a fan of 2 year point to point, but you can also mix it with other 1 year if you wanted to. All right. But I'm just showing you what kind of allocation you can do. So balance asset five index 2 years, I can put 25% on that without the charge. I'm doing the one without the charge. Okay. No fees on this. The iShare Core S&P 500, this is pretty good. You can go ahead if you wanted to do that one, you can. That means it's following the S&P 500. So if you wanted to put like 25% on that, another good one, S&P 500, they have a one, it's called the 2 year point to point with cap. So this one seems like a pretty good one. There is also another one called 2 year point to point with spread and participation. This is also good. So you can go ahead and put, let's just say you're going to put 25% on that one, and you're scrolling down. Morgan Stanley has been doing pretty well. Morgan Stanley 2 year point to point. There is without the fees, without the charge. So I put 25%. So when you do that, that means we put 25% on Morgan Stanley 2 year. I share for 2 year point to point, you put 25%. I share core S&P 1 year point to point with participation for 25%. So as you can see, these are the ones that I chose right now. But it doesn't mean the client can't change it. Every year on their anniversary, they can change the allocation to a different investment option if they wanted to. All right. So it's not like they are stuck with it. Okay. And I click OK. I go ahead and go to Actions and click Preview Illustrations. So this will go ahead and generate an illustration based on the client's info that I just provided. So let me just go ahead and do like how I would explain this to the client. Okay. How would I present it? I'm not going to explain it as an agent to an agent as a training. I'm just going to explain it as a client to a client. Okay. So I'll first go ahead and let the client know. We said her name is Jane. So Jane, the F&G Power Accumulator, this is one of our most popular annuities because there are two big benefits to rolling over your money into this program. First is the downside protection. You are guaranteed to not lose any money due to the market declines. Do you remember back in 2007 and 8, there was a big market crash, Jane? And she say, yeah. Did you lose any money during that time? Yeah, I did. I lost like $50,000. Did you know that, Jane? There were clients who lost hundreds, if not millions of dollars during that just 12 months of period of time where clients lost so much money and they actually took their own life, jumped off a building. It was a crazy, crazy time. Some clients lost almost 50% of their total retirement account during that time, just that 1 year window. If that happens again, what would that look like for you, Jane? I don't know. I mean, I feel like I will not be able to retire comfortably if that happens. So, based on what you told me last time, Jane, you said this 200,000 really is the only money that you have in terms of retirement plan. Is that correct? So, we want to protect this retirement right now because if the 2008 market crash happened again, then you might not able to retire comfortably. So what we are doing is we're showing you an option where you can roll over your $200,000 into a fixed index annuity so that if the market crashes, your money will never be lost due to the market declines. Do you think that's important to you, Jay? Yeah, yeah, that's amazing, right? And number two, the interest growth potential. So just because we roll over into a fixed index annuity, that doesn't mean we're going to limit on your growth potential on your retirement account. We still have something called the ETFs, exchange traded funds. So we have multiple options inside of the safety net of our annuity, and you can still gain 5, 10, 20% interest when the market is doing well. But if the market goes down and it goes negative, your money will always be protected and you can go never below 0% return. Okay. And you also asked me about, do I need to pay any taxes when I roll over the money? Actually, Jane, you do not have to pay any taxes when you roll it over from your 401k to the fixed index annuity because we actually keep your tax deferred status. So you wouldn't have to pay any taxes when you're rolling this over. And only time you'll pay the taxes is when you want to withdraw the money and start withdraw it as an income. And you don't have to pay capital gains tax. You'll just have to pay the income tax based on how much money that you pull out from your annuity. Do you have any questions so far? Right. And so what I'm doing here is I'm giving the client just enough information where clients feeling confident and why this is going to be better for the client than what the client currently has. And talked about the fear of loss, right? Fear of losing that retirement that client worked so hard over the last 10, 20, 30 years. So we are sharing what happened 10, 20 years ago in the market and how that was so devastating for Americans. And we just don't have the time to do that because client will not able to comfortably retire if that happens again. So I am squashing objections from the get-go, right? And the other part, we already covered on up to number tax deferral, number three, right? And then what I share with the client is inside of the safety of the annuity, we have variety of options where client can diversify their investment portfolio. So if you wanted to focus on the S&P 500, which is considered the gold standard for investment, it's been performing really well over the last, 30, 40 years. And there's Gold Trust, there is real estate, there's Morgan Stanley, so we can diversify for the client. And I'm just letting you know, Jane, there is an option called a 1 year point to point and a 2 year point to point. Okay. And 1 year point to point means that if you were to get, uh, let's just say, if you're going to get a credit and an interest, that's going to happen every year on your anniversary. So next year around this time, you're going to get an interest credited to your account all at once on your anniversary. This is not going to be one of those accounts like in your current 401k. It goes up and down every day. It doesn't do that. Once they calculate what the market has performed over the next year, and they give the interest credited to your account all at once. Okay. There's another one called 2 year point to point. 2 year point to point means that you wait to get interest credit into your account every 2 years instead of every year. And client goes like, why would you do 2 years versus one? Because if you take a look at it, 1 year point to point, what does it say here? The participation rate is it's 195%. But look at the 2 year, how much does it say? What's the participation rate? It's 275%. So that means if you were to get the 2 year point to point, there you're going to have a 275% multiplier. So if it did 10% in 2 years, collectively return for the balanced asset 5 index, you will get a 27.5% return for those 2 years. So if we divide that by two, you would have received almost 14% return each year. If we wanted to go with the 1 year point to point, you still get a multiplier of 195%, but the multiplier is not as big. So if you hold off to get the interest every 2 years, you just get a better return. So I just let the client know. So what I typically recommend is I mix up between the different investment options and we can kind of fit based on what's best fit for you. And we can diversify as much as we want. But based on the historical return over the last 20 years and what's been performing the best recently, my recommendation was to put it into four different indexes. Balanced asset 5 2 year, iShare Core S&P 1 year point to point, and S&P 500 2 year, and Morgan Stanley for 2 year. And just so you know, Jane, this is not something that you can't change. In the future, on your anniversary, if you want to change the allocation, we can always change the allocation to a different investment option if you would like to. Okay. And there's something that I also wanted to show you. This is based on the historical return of those four indexes that I have actually chosen for you. So based on the 20 years of historical return, Your age is 55 right now. You're putting in a $200,000 rollover from your 401k. And if you take a look at the left side, this shows you your anniversary, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 10 year anniversary. And the account value shows how much the money is growing. So if you take a look at it, by the time you're about 6 years in, your account value is sitting at around $350,000. And that's only 6 years from now. That's quite a jump, right? And it's because we have that multiplier on our indexes, so you can get a bigger return than the people who get it in the stock market. And by the 10th year, you'll have around $445,000. And you told me that you want to retire around 65 years old. So by that time, with the historical performance, then it could be sitting at about $445,000. And you can start taking out an income. Let's say you wanted to take out 5%, 7%, then you can take that out and you just have to pay the taxes based on how much you pull out. Or if you want to let it grow and just leave it in there, you can also do that. By the time you are 75, you'll become a millionaire just from this policy, this annuity. So that's about 5 times in 20 years. If you started withdrawing income, but you unexpectedly passed away, then whatever is left over becomes a death benefit and goes to your family. Okay. And I wanted to share something with you. Annuities back in the days, there was some people who didn't like annuities because once you start an annuity, they were not able to take out any money until the time was over, 10 years, 5 years, whatever the annuity period is. But the new annuities, we have something called the free withdrawal. It's a liquidity rider where after the first contract year, so on your first year anniversary, you'll be able to take out 10% of your account value without any surrender charge or fees. Why is that awesome? Because if that $200,000 client put in and client something came up and they need the money, then we're able to let the client take out the money without having to pay any penalty for taking that money out, right? So I'm just sharing that with the client. Those are the features of the plan. Okay. So clients don't feel like, oh, my not money's locked in for the next 10 years and I can't do anything with that. Client can still take it out if they wanted to, 10% a year of the total account value. Okay. And also on a like a extreme circumstance, client had really serious like a health issue come up and they had like a long-term care situation where they can't do 2 out of 6 activities of daily living, or they have a terminal illness, nursing home, and if they were to be in any of these three things, they'll actually waive the entire surrender fee and everything, and client can take out the money right away. So in case client has one of those impairment, nursing home, or terminal illness situation, it waivers the surrender charge and client can take out all the money out. So that is the safety feature on this plan. And that's it, Jane. It's pretty simple, right? If we want to recap it, your $200,000 you put in has no downside. So if the market goes down, you're guaranteed to never lose money based on the market declines. But if the market does well, you're going to gain interest. Okay. And at a certain age, you can start taking out income and it's tax deferred. So you don't have to pay any taxes when we roll this over. And when you start withdrawing income, you can pay taxes based on your income bracket. So to me, based on what you told me, you lost money in the past. due to market crash. And at this point, you don't want to be too risky. You want to be having the money in a safe place, but still gives you a good return. Is that correct? So yeah, this will be a great fit for you. And that's it. Very simple. You don't have to complicate it. All right. Don't go into too much detail. Just give the clients the bullet points of what's important of doing this and why this is good for the client. And that's it. And this is how you present the annuity so that client has an easy time understanding what you're saying. Because imagine you are a licensed agent and agents get confused. So imagine as somebody that don't have their life license, never really heard of annuity, they'll be super confused. So we want to really simplify it where maybe like a high school kid can understand, right? Or a middle school kid can understand. Because usually we'll never run into a problem if you make it simplified. If you make it complicated, then that's when you hear, I need to think about it, and all the other things come out. If you keep it simple and just go straight to the point and give the bullet points, you should not have the client confused. Okay. How do I explain transferring a Roth IRA? Roth IRA, Liz, it's the same principle. The only difference is Roth IRA means that the client already paid taxes on that money. So when the client rolls it over, it's going to still remain in the same Roth IRA status. The client will not have to pay taxes when they're withdrawing the money out. Okay? That's the only difference there. And let's see if there's any other questions. What is the maximum age to start? So the maximum age to start based on this product, let me go ahead and show you. There's a different age groups and how the commission gets paid out on this one. Let's go to F&G. The Power Accumulator 10 goes up to age, so you can start a Power Accumulator 10 up to age 85. So 85 is the last age you can do this. But commission payout is a lot less because most likely client is closer to um, their death than somebody who might have started at 50. If that makes sense. So depending on if their age group, the commission rate is a little different. So the Power Accumulator 10, you can write up to 85 years old. Accelerator plus 10, I told you earlier, that also goes up to 85. So you can start an annuity at age 85 for that client. So that's the last stage. Minimum investment on this is $10,000. That's the minimum. But $10,000 is not a lot. I mean, it can be a lot for some people, but just in terms of retirement, it's just not a lot. Typically, I tell my clients about $20,000 minimum. And then the also depends on what kind of annuity you want to put it in and what their age is. That's all important. But the absolute minimum is $10,000 to get started. Please give the definition again between qualified and non-qualified annuity. Yeah. So qualified means that it's a government qualified retirement account that is in a tax deferred status. So in a 401k, IRA, 403b, things like that. So client has not paid taxes on that money yet, and that is a qualified rollover. So if we want to roll it over, we have to choose qualified rollover. If it's a non-qualified, that means client already have paid taxes on that money, right? So if the client already paid taxes on that money, money sitting in a checking account, savings account, like I said, under the mattress, CD account, that's all considered non-qualified because client already paid taxes on that. If moving funds from a brokerage account, how does that work? There's actually no necessary limit, but you have to first get the annuity approved. And that means you can actually get transfer paperwork sent over to them, and have them to release the money from the brokerage account, and that gets rolled over into the annuity. And they still will be in the same tax deferred status. So there will be no tax implications when they roll it over, not until they want to withdraw the money later on when they want to start receiving it as an income. And yeah, I'm glad you liked it, Ed, for the annuity training. Yeah, get the LMS done. What I'm doing is I'm actually showing you kind of like a live, easy way to explain it to the client. I'm not going into super detail. It's more about how to share with the client. Okay? Do you have any other questions? No, we cannot, Scott. The minimum is 10,000 for the fidelity annuities that I'm talking about. 25 a month. Most likely, annuity companies will not allow that. The minimum I've saw is usually around 5,000 to get started, and you pay a monthly premium. That's like National Life Group annuity, but most of the annuities start at $10,000 minimum. Once you put the $10,000, you can't do a monthly contribution. You can deposit money anytime you have $2,000 minimum. So if a client wanted to pay $200 a month, but we don't offer that, right? So when the client saves $200 a month for 10 months, that's $2,000, then the client can deposit it into the annuity. So the minimum is 2,000. But also remember, if you have multiple indexes in the annuity, it's $2,000 per index. So if you have diversified into four, like in the scenario that I just did, then the minimum that you need to put in at lump sum is $8,000 since you have $2,000 for different indexes. That's the minimum. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Is a TSP account um under the qualified?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Thrift savings plan, it is. So TSP is usually more government related. Jobs have that. So yes, that falls under still the qualified plan. Okay. So hopefully this was helpful. And you can always utilize the subject matter expert to help you with your annuity clients if you still don't feel confident. So some agents, what they do is they focus on mortgage protection and general life, and that's kind of the bread and butter. Annuities take about 3 to 4 weeks usually on the minimum to get it issued, especially if it's coming from another retirement account. If they already have it in a checking account or they have it in a savings account, that could take as little as 1 week. But it is a longer process and it is an advanced product. Maybe explaining it is pretty easy, but doing the application is also another thing that you have to get pretty familiar with. It's more about the financial fitness. So you have to gather clients' finances, how much money they have in their savings checkings, what their real estate is worth, all that stuff. So I would highly suggest you to use a subject matter expert in your agency. And if you are under, let's just say, Brenes Master or Peterson Master, I want you to use those SMEs first, and they will help you to um, close the business for you. So the way the split works in the symmetry model is for the FIF reset, then you get the agent who referred gets a 40% split, and you don't have to do anything. You just connect the subject matter expert SME to the client and say, hey, he's the best at the annuity. He helps a lot of clients with their retirement. Hand it over, and that agent will do all the work from beginning to the end. He gets or she gets 60%, and the agent who referred gets 40% for just referring the client. So that is available in the Symmetry system. Okay. All right, guys. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.
Sean, is
Yeah.
that the only way? I thought you said it was two ways. You said to send it to a subject matter expert. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, yeah. So if you want to do it yourself, you can do that, right? Or if you want to talk to your mentor and they can kind of help you with that, you can also do it. But if you wanted to just hand it over to an expert and just let them do it, It's the subject matter expert FIF reset, it's called. So you hand the client over to the subject matter expert, and they will do from the beginning to the end, close the business, and you'll just get paid 40% for referring the client, and the agent who helped you do the annuity will get a 60%. So it's a 40-60% split that gets paid out. Okay. Or you can do it
Like,
on your own and get the 100%. Okay. All right. Have a good rest of your day, guys. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.